Marilyn Wilson here from RE Technology, and I'm really excited to get us started on I think going to be a very fun discussion about how small to mid-sized brokerage independents are fighting back against large brokerages or new brands or the ever-increasing number of people trying to take away the business of small to mid-sized brokerages. So I'm going to first just remind us all that if any of you have any questions throughout the session, feel free to, if you look over on your right-hand side, you'll see a section that has questions. Just push on that little gray triangle and it will open it up, and then you can type in your question, and we will either answer it right as it comes in or we'll hold some for the end, okay? So if anybody has any questions about that, or if you have anything else that you need, go down and click on chat, and we'll be able to help you during the time frame. In the meantime, let me introduce you to our esteemed panel here. We have Bondilyn Jolly from the Elevate company, and then we have Justin Falb and Frank Chimento, and they have a lot of, I would call, real-world experience in the day-to-day struggles that so many brokerages across America are facing today of, how do I differentiate? How do I have a value proposition with technology that really is meaningful and truly will help my agents be more productive? Because we all know if we can help them be more productive, they're not going to go anywhere, right? And hopefully you can attract lots of new ones. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Bondilyn. And actually, there's a couple of questions here from Buster. I will answer those for you in just one second. But Bondilyn, why don't you take your esteemed panel away? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Marilyn. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We're all very excited to be here with you. As Marilyn said, if you have questions throughout our conversation, please put them into the question window. If they make sense and we can work them into the conversation at that time, we'll do so. We also are going to have a dedicated Q&A session at the end. So any questions that we aren't able to answer within our conversation, we'll certainly try to address at the end for you. So Frank, would you like to take a minute? You have been in the real estate sector. I mean, you and I go way back inside of this space, but you go way, way back. So take a moment and introduce yourself, and then we'll have Justin do the same.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And Marilyn and folks, thanks for inviting us. We're excited about it. Yes, my name's Frank Chimento. I'm the Vice President of Brokerage Development for Elm Street Technology. And yes, you are right, Bondilyn. I've been in this industry almost 25 years. I've worked inside all of the major franchise brands, either as an employee or a consultant, and worked with a few of the technology companies. So, I jokingly say all of that and $5 still doesn't get me a latte at Starbucks, but it means I've seen a lot and heard a lot, and so it helps me learn what is going on in the real estate industry and kind of really understand the best practices, and that's what we're hoping to share today.
Wonderful, thank you, Justin. How about you?
I am the managing broker for Oceans Luxury Realty here in Daytona Beach, Florida, which is a decent-sized market. Had some experience working with some franchise companies when I first started my career, and definitely ventured into the Oceans Luxury Realty, which is independent brokerage.
Excellent. Well, we have 1 hour to fit in a ton of conversation, so I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in. And I thought we would start with a 2019 study, a recent study by the National Association of Realtors. And it was interesting because, Frank and I have been having some different conversations about, the strengths of the independent brokerage, what we're seeing as a growth or a resurgence of the independent brokerage across the U.S. market. And the statistics that came from the NAR study actually really support that as well. It states, that there's only 11% of all U.S. brokerages that are actually affiliated with a national franchise brand. And that 42% of all realtors inside of NAR are affiliated with a franchise brand. So it's interesting because we've been seeing this growing trend, right? This resurgence inside of the independent space. And so the question that we've been posing ourselves and what really led to this conversation today is, why is it that brokerages and agents are, choosing to remain independent or even leave the big box brands and go an independent route? And so, Justin, I'd like to start with you because you are the managing broker at Oceans Luxury Real Estate. What motivated you or inspired you to go the independent route?
Well, there's quite a few reasons. The national brands definitely offer brand recognition, and that's there. But the opportunity to be unique, create your own culture, be streamlined to the local market. And obviously, not pay that overhead, not pay that franchise fee. I mean, that's what we're all talking about is with the shrinking, profit margins these days. It does come down to money. And when you're paying, a decent percentage of every transaction to the mothership, then, obviously that's going to affect what you can make as an independent broker or as a brokerage at the local level.
And Frank, I know that you have some thoughts on certainly that as well.
Well, honestly, I look at it, not only the statistic that you're showing is that number is declining. Every year it's getting lower and lower. There are less and less brokerages and less agents affiliating with what we would call the big box brands or the national franchise brands. And when you start looking at kind of the data and what's going on, when you look at shrinking margins, when you look at the net company dollar to a brokerage, to an agent, but what's changed the game has really been technology. Because, go back even 5-10 years, it was very difficult if you were with a small independent, maybe unknown. It was hard to get exposure if you weren't part of one of those big national names. Well, technology has leveled the playing field. And now an independent brokerage like Justin can not only compete, but thrive in a local market. And it gives some differentiation, especially when you start seeing what's available out there, just the economies of scale and technology. I think it's leveled the playing field, and we're seeing that across the entire country. And, it's an exciting time to be an independent brokerage because it's back to being, an owner-operator. And quite frankly, I think at the end of the day, it's more net dollar in your pocket.
Yeah, that's true. And I think, it's interesting, too, because we see so many trends of this entrepreneurial mindset in the U.S., right? And because we have easier access to technology, the ability to market ourselves via social media, more and more people are feeling empowered and able to go out and be that small business person that, maybe before they really felt that they needed that support of that big box brand behind them.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting point, because I think as we look at it, where's the industry going? What is the independent brokerage, like Justin, when they're sitting, every day they hear the big guys pounding their chests and saying, we're putting $4 billion into this technology and we're buying this technology platform. As an independent, what are they left with? What is their option? And I think technology is making it easier where they can say, not only do we have an option, our option is actually superior than what some of the big box brands are actually providing for their agents. And I think the agents are realizing that, and they're starting to recognize, like, hey, you know what? There's some really good stuff out here. I no longer have to be affiliated with this big box brand in order to elevate my business. No pun intended, but yes. Justin, you and I talk about that. Even your agents, they love the value proposition that you guys are providing for them as an independent, right?
Oh, absolutely. We're able to, have the things that they are looking for specifically and not have, all these extra bells and whistles that nobody uses but they pay for.
Yeah, I think that's key. It's about
so that actually leads into our first broker challenge, right? So I know we've got 4 key broker challenges we're going to discuss today, and one has historically been technology. Investing in technology can be very challenging. It can be costly. It can be frustrating. I think, Frank, you shared a statistic with me one time that the average broker is using somewhere between 15 to 20 different technology vendors to accomplish the tasks of running their office, of their day-to-day. And that's terribly overwhelming. So why don't you expand on that a little bit for us?
Yeah, it is. When you look at it, unfortunately, the real estate industry, if there's anything we've been behind on, it has been the consolidation of technology. Not technology. We've actually had quite a bit of technology innovations in our industry, but the consolidation of it has been way behind. So from a brokerage perspective, they've got an MLS vendor, they've got a CRM vendor, they've got lead generation programs, they might have marketing programs, they might have transaction management, they might have accounting, and a lot of times they have all of these things. None of those systems talk to each other. So there's a lot of breakage, there's a lot of inefficiency, and it's just an economy of scale. There's a lot of added cost. And so, luckily now as the industry is moving forward, and of course what we bring to the table is able to consolidate all of what we call the core services and provide an operating system for the brokerage. That's really the key. Is a business needs to run its business. And whether it's your iPhone or your Android phone, everybody's got an operating system that they're running off of. But real estate brokerages don't have an operating system. They have all these little disparate, fragmented pieces of technology that they're trying to bolt together. And it's confusing as heck, and there's a lot of breakage, and it's just not efficient. And with shrinking margins, a broker has to pay attention to all of that. The devil's in the details, and that's where the profitability is as well. And I know, Justin, you ran into this too, right? You guys were using a ton of different technology.
Oh, 100%. And with everybody using different tools and different techniques, as far as the agents go, there was no packaging them together and saying, hey, if we have 15 agents that use this platform, how can we get the most of what we're using? And, when you start, again, having 5 or 6 different CRMs that different agents are using, and they're having trouble and coming to, the support and the admins and the broker on, hey, how do I use this CRM? And as a broker trying to figure out, on the fly, how does this one work versus this other one, it was very difficult. It was a constant daily struggle. So to have something that's consistent between agents, we're able to offer classroom type setups, then that's absolutely the way you maximize, what you put out there.
Yeah, and
go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, there's something else I think that gets missed sometimes is, there is this rub in our industry because it is so unique in that agents are independent contractors. A lot of them left corporate America so that they could go into business by themselves, and they don't want somebody telling them what to do. They don't want necessarily accountability in a micromanaging big brother kind of way. Yet on the flip side, you got Justin pulling his wallet out and trying to run a business and has to have some kind of accountability measures in place to be able to keep the lights on. And you've got this rub. How do you hold an agent accountable that's independent contractor who goes home every night and every morning has to make a decision of placing their license with you again? So you've got this rub. So technology becomes a challenge in how do you provide technology in a way that empowers the agent, lets them view the broker as a big partner, not as big brother, and yet put enough accountability in place that the brokerage can manage their business correctly, measure the things that need to be measured, and move forward. And that's been the big challenge in our industry.
Yeah, and then, look at some of like the recent, acquisitions inside of the space by the big companies, acquiring CRMs, developing their own proprietary platforms. And all of a sudden we have this really big concern that's going on with, from an agent perspective, like, if I'm putting my leads, my hard-earned leads into the CRM, if I'm investing my time, my energy, and potentially my dollars into the solution, what does that broker have access to? Who actually truly owns that lead data? And that's a big concern too we're seeing inside of the large franchise brands, right? If they have a proprietary CRM that their agents are being encouraged to use, the brokerages are being encouraged to use, who truly owns that data? And so that's, the privacy of the agent's data obviously affects adoption. Now, Justin, you have onboarded your agents into Elevate, and you actually have a large percentage. I think you've got around 20% of your agents that have already onboarded onto the platform, and that number's growing. Why do you think that you're having so much success with your agent adoption rates?
Well, one of the big things you just touched on is the fact that they feel comfortable that the system, the CRM, does allow the import of their third-party vendors that they're paying for their own leads, and those leads belong to them. If they want me to follow up and hold them accountable, there's leads that the system provides that I'm able to track and look at and see how long their response rate is and how they're nurturing those leads and converting them. But the most important part is that if they have leads from a third-party vendor that are real-time leads coming in today, they see those. Those don't belong to the company. We're not providing those. They're paying for those lead gen. But in addition to that, they can upload past contact system, files, the CSV files, and those leads belong to them as well. Those are firewalled or it's a walled system. So, I'm able to see the number of leads they're putting into it, but I don't see the specifics on the details of those leads, because those leads do belong to the agents. And, again, if they were ever to, decide that the systems or this brokerage isn't for them, those leads they could export and they're theirs. They don't belong to me. So that's been a huge success in convincing agents to capitalize on using the system, because the system is great in real time, but the really way to get the maximizing return on your investment is to upload all those past contacts, especially in the business for 5 or 10 years, because you're talking about that's your lifeline, that's your lifeblood, that's your hard work, and to have a system that can adopt those people and put them on drip campaigns, put them on monthly newsletter subscriptions, and automate the entire follow-up part of it is huge. And I think that's the biggest reason why we've had the buy-in from our agents.
So Frank, Frank, I know that you have worked inside of so many different companies, across the real estate space, and this idea of this agent privacy, this walled garden, that really came, you were a big driving part of implementing that into the Elevate technology and what Justin's referring to. So take it away and talk to us a little bit about that whole concept.
I don't know if there may be some people in the industry as big of a proponent of this as I am, but I know there's no one bigger. I have been preaching this from the mountaintops forever and ever and ever, because let's unstack this, or let's unpack it a little bit. There's a couple of things that are key that drive this, and I think it's important to understand. Something that's not talked about by brokerages nearly enough, and they need to be talking about it, is that the typical real estate agent in the United States switches brokerages about every 4 to 5 years. That is an undeniable statistical fact that is overlooked. So think about this. I've been in the business 15 years. I've worked hard to accumulate a sphere of influence. NAR reports that 83% of all the homes bought or sold last year were procured from an agent sphere of influence. That's my book of business. So I might go and place my license with Justin. I may love Justin and think the world of him. I might share food off of his plate, but I am not sharing my database contact record details with Justin. No way. I've worked too hard for him, because I don't know if Justin's going to make me angry one day and I'm going to leave and go somewhere else. And I don't want Justin marketing to my past clients. So when you think about this, this is unbelievable to me. None of the CRM systems in the industry have protected the agent's database. This was a business challenge we solved right at the beginning. Is there's a walled garden, a technological term, which simply means when the agent uploads their database, the brokerage cannot see the contact record details. They can't see the phone number and the email and the name. They can only see key performance indicators related to that. So the broker can be working on the business while the agent's working in the business. And that way the agent, this does two things. Number one, the agent is safe and secure uploading their database. And as a result, they're actually using the system to leverage their entire sphere of influence, which benefits the brokerage. Whereas right now, across the entire industry, even some of the big box franchise brands, their agents only use the CRM for the leads that the broker provides to them. They don't put their database into it, and they're not getting any benefit out of it. So this is a really, really big thing. It sounds boring and it's not exciting to talk about, but it really is the lifeblood of an independent contractor real estate agent's business, is their sphere of influence. I don't want to share it with Justin. I don't want to share it with anybody, but I want Justin to be able to look into it just enough to find out how he can do things to make my life easier so I can sell more homes faster. That's the goal. So we solve for that. It's been a really big deal. It has really helped us with agent adoption. Agents feel comfortable and safe that they can upload their database and they can go to town. And I think, just seeing the benefit.
Yeah, and Justin, I'm so happy to see your high adoption numbers and that they continue to grow. And I know that has been a big part of it for you, is really having that trust, putting the agent first, and being respectful of their privacy and their hard-earned leads. So kudos to you. All right, so we're going to move on to our next challenge. And this is the critical core services. Agents, like so many brokers, face this challenge of, what constitutes the critical core services and how do I provide these in a comprehensive way, to my agents. And Justin, you have 61 agents in your office right now. Your numbers are growing very, very quickly, which is wonderful. What types of, core services are your agents asking for? And what do you feel are the most important services to provide to your agents?
No, absolutely. When you meet with an agent, obviously depending on the past experience level, they all are looking for different things. But the resounding answer over and over and over again are obviously, leads, training, the ability to have a system that offers some sort of visibility on the internet, so such as an IDX website. Obviously, a CRM is a huge part of it. The ability to create CMAs, basics of being a real estate agent obviously are very important, but the training, leads, training, development, those are the big things that kind of resound no matter what experience level you're on. And over and over again, we are going into the time in real estate where you have a lot of teams versus single agent independent contractors, and the ability to adapt and have a team system that works for a group of agents is awesome, and this system does offer that as well. So having the ability to again work on a single agent or as a team is a huge component of the system.
And Frank, going back to that conversation where we've got brokers using 15 to 20 solutions, I think the average agent is using 10 to 12. And what Justin is saying is that, by onboarding his agents into the Elevate system, all of that list of those core, services are actually bundled into one comprehensive, one single sign-on process. And not only does that, support that agent adoption, but it just, it streamlines an agent's day-to-day. So why don't you talk a little bit about that for us?
I think this is really important. I mean, a lot of brokerages that I talk with, they don't really understand, or maybe they don't really know what does constitute what we would call critical core services. And so when you kind of, again, unpack that and say, look, real estate agents are in the people business, okay? They've got to be able to stay in front of people. They need to manage a pipeline. They've got to fill the top of that funnel, and they've got to watch that thing go through. So there's got to be some kind of productivity management or activity, or what I call, I'm riddled with ADD. I need activity coaching, right? I need things to keep me on track, to keep things moving through the pipeline. So that's important. Justin mentioned a CMA. I mean, creating a CMA is simple. I'm amazed at how many agents overcomplicate CMAs, get really down in the weeds, and then maybe don't even really have the real knowledge to do them correctly. So a CMA, an IDX website, email at this day and age, we're on the verge of 2020. If you don't have automated email marketing and text message marketing and social media marketing, you're 10 years behind. So you've got to have that as a core service. And so when we looked at this platform, we decided, okay, look, here are the core services we're going to put in. But then we don't stop there. At a brokerage level, what's more core to a broker than recruiting? I mean, that's the lifeblood of the brokerage business. So putting in recruiting modules, relationship building programs attached to that, so that a broker can actually be more efficient and successful at recruiting agents that they want. That type, being able to see key performance indicators. Justin and I were talking about it. One of the things I like that we created was this report card, which compiles all this data that Justin at any moment can click on an agent in his office and pull up an entire report card on everything that's going on in that agent's business, where that used to take me 4 or 5 hours consulting a brokerage to compile that information just to sit down and have a monthly business development meeting for an agent. And we just can't afford to do that any longer. It's too expensive. So being able to provide key performance indicators at the broker, I think Tony Robbins said it a long time ago. He said, business owners make the best decisions they can at the moment with the information they have available to them. So we believe that by providing Justin with a lot more of the key performance indicators, he's going to make faster, smarter business decisions. So, things like CRM, automated email marketing, CMA wizards, social media marketing, document storage, so you don't need Google Drive and Dropbox, email integration, recruiting modules, being able to search the MLS from inside your platform and not have to keep bouncing in and out and storing searches and saving searches. All of that information in one platform with one username, one password, it's simplifying the agent's life. And then it doesn't prevent them from saying, hey, there's a couple of little anecdotal things or, extra things that I'd like to add or plug in. Fine, go for it. But your core services are taken care of.
Yeah, and me, I'm a really big fan of workflows, and that's one of the things that I love, with the Elevate solution is that, agents are amazing salespeople,
Right.
and some are amazing marketers, but they're juggling so many different things, wearing so many different hats every day. And the idea that there's one solution where their leads are coming into, and based on the type of lead it is, it's going through communication cycles, and all of those are being tracked and recorded, and it's triggering or prompting that agent to do certain types of follow-up, or it's automating that follow-up for them. Same from the recruitment standpoint, on Justin's side. It's just so powerful, because once you put these processes and protocol in place, it's just running day to day to day. Justin can go off and take off half the day and go hit the beach if he wants, and he still knows that everything is churning and churning for him, right?
Well,
when was the last time you took half a day, Justin?
Something that you just said is really
I'm at my home office today, which shows something.
There you go. And something you just said is really, really important, especially for independent brokerages. I call it the mom and pops or the owner operators, is this concept of, you've got to understand that when you're running this business, you've got to have quick access to information. It's really important to have quick access to information, because time is a commodity, and it's you don't have it, very much of it. And so we really try to keep feeding that brokerage with information so that they can make smarter, quicker, faster decisions.
Well, and that goes to our third challenge, which is analytics and insight. And this has been mentioned, over the course of our conversation, but, so many brokers are challenged with really looking at the core fundamentals of how their business is operating, right? And they lack that insight. And maybe it's because they're using so many different tools and technology, and everything is so fragmented. But Frank, you've worked inside of, every size brokerage, practically every brand. Why are brokers struggling with something that is so fundamental to their business success and the success of their agents?
Well, I think it goes back to what I said before, is disparate pieces of technology where the information isn't being aggregated and collected, so it's easy for a brokerage to see. I like to use a very specific example. I was consulting with a brokerage in Hilton Head, South Carolina. They ended up getting onto the Elevate platform. And one of the things that was really interesting, and this is mind-blowing to a lot of brokers, because the brokerage could see or had visibility into the activities that the agents were assigning to themselves as they worked their customers, we were finding that there were two tasks agents were consistently procrastinating on, meaning the tasks were running 3 or 4 days behind when they had scheduled it. And believe it or not, those two tasks were hanging lock boxes and getting keys made. And you think about that and you're like, well, that's mind-blowing. That's critical to an agent's business. What agent is going to forget to hang a lockbox or get keys made? It's not that they forget. They were procrastinating it because they were on to that next customer that they've been working on. So because the broker could see that information, the brokerage said, you know what? I can solve this business challenge for my agents. I'm going to hire a college kid to come in the office 3 days a week and do nothing but hang lock boxes and get keys made. I was there when we made the announcement that they were doing that. The agents gave a standing ovation because they realized, like, this is critical to my company, to my business. I don't really have time to do it. It's a pain in the rear end to do it. The broker's doing it for me. That's a partner. That's a business partner. That's why I want to hang my license here. He's looking for ways to help me be more efficient with my time. And so I think the reality is brokerages can be the hero. They can do things to help their agents, but they've got to have access to the metrics that they can measure and manage. And up until this point, that's just been a very difficult thing to accomplish. And Justin, I don't know what you've got to add on that, but I know you from time to time can look in and see what the activities are, and you look for trends.
Absolutely. Now, 100%. There's so many things that the KPIs of the system have provided me as the managing broker to try to help my agents convert at a better rate. And one of the big things I never realized before was the follow-up and how many times it actually takes to contact a potential customer or a lead. And so many agents would have given up after the third, fourth, fifth time. And I was amazed at the concierge service that the system has. And, it hits them 15 times via text and email till it gets a response. And once it gets a response, it passes the lead over to the agent that's been assigned to it. And then the agent can pick it up from there when they're ready to go look at houses or set up specific listings. But in the meantime, to have a system that's going to nurture that lead, when most agents would have just said, you know, it's a cold lead, it's a garbage lead, I'm not going to work this. It's about filling your pipeline. It's about, you know, not having the peaks and valleys of a real estate career. I mean, let's get with it. You know, most of the times agents leave brokerages is because they're not having the success or the business that they want. And a lot of times it's the fact that they want that hot customer. Everybody wants that hot buyer ready to buy now. Go look at houses, go show 2 or 3 properties, write an offer, get under contract and close. But in reality, it takes a long time, and agents don't have the patience to sit there and nurture a cold lead for, you know, 6 months to a year that this system does for you. So really, you kind of put it on autopilot. You know, the person's getting a morning report, the person's getting a monthly newsletter from you. They're going to recognize you when you call, and you know what? Your phone number, your email, your information. There's even a contact me button where the agent will get a text when that person's ready to buy a house. And you know, I just went to the local Florida Realtors convention and heard Ryan Serhant speak. And I don't know if you stuck around for that or not, Frank, but you know, one of the things that stuck to me in that whole convention was his story about that buyer who contacted him about that apartment in Soho in New York. And you know, it's his follow-up system, his CRM system. You know, he's like, I send 1 email to a customer every week. And that's what I do, because emails are free and they'll tell you when to stop. You know, it doesn't cost you anything to send an email. So he had his person on an email drip for 8 years. And finally, the person contacted him saying, you know what, I'm sorry, I've been busy. You know, come on, 8 years, I've been busy. But ended up buying an $8 million property out in the Hamptons. So, I mean, talk about, you know, again, autopilot, having a system, being able to nurture those cold leads until they're ready to buy. You know, let's focus our time on the people who are ready now, but have a system in place to keep those people cultivated and nurtured.
Well, you're 100% right. I mean, and you know, when I worked at one of the big portals, and it was mind blowing. I mean, the industry knows this, and again, they don't talk about this. But you know, I was at Realtor.com. A lot of people know that. But you know, we would see all the leads that were coming through, you know, from consumers inquiring on properties, and 54% of the leads that came through never received a response from the agent. Never. That doesn't mean late. Never. 54%. 46%. The average response time was about 12 hours. Well, in the speed to contact game for lead generation and follow-up, that's deadly. You might as well go play a round of golf. You've got a better chance of selling the person driving the beer cart a house than waiting 12 hours to respond to a lead. So, you know, you mentioned our concierge service. I mean, it's incredible at what we're doing. We're scrubbing leads on behalf of the agents and the brokers for 90 days. We're staying with them for 90 days, scrubbing them. And it's mind-blowing at how many business opportunities are coming through the pipeline 30, 45, 60 days later when an agent would, you know, I think the statistics show that the typical real estate agent gives up after 2 or 3 contact attempts, and the typical consumer responds after 9 or 10 contact attempts. Therein lies there's a lot of money sitting on somebody's table. We want to make sure that our clients are capturing that. So, you know, look, as an agent, I don't want you spending all day chasing cold leads. I want you spending the highest and best use of your time, you know, shaking hands and kissing babies of people that are ready to go to town. But you got to have a system that's working all of that and keeping that pipeline going for you. And to your point, that's the system we put in place. We want agents to do what they do best. And when we nurture somebody and get them teed up and they're ready to go get in the car, then you're ready to jump on them. So I'm glad you said that, because you're right. A lot of brokerages, they look at lead gen and they stop just short of the return on investment part, which is that back end side. The money is not in the generation of the lead. The money's in the follow-up and the nurturing and the cultivating. And unfortunately, a lot of independent brokerages stop short of thinking about how are we going to watch that system fall, you know, come all the way through the process. And so, hey,
yeah, you know, statistically, only 2% of online leads actually move into a transaction within 30 days. The
Correct.
remainder of those, statistically, it's a 13-month life cycle to nurture and convert that lead. And so, Frank, you're right. Our concierge service very aggressively engages those leads over 90 days. And if they are not able to move them forward, then they go into a longer-term nurture and drip campaign. So if needed, 8 years is pretty extreme from the story that you shared, Justin, but the fact is that can exist there, right? And that's interesting too, because it was really just keeping him, top of mind, and that little touch here and there. And, the prospect could just delete that email if he didn't want to engage with it, but he kept staying in front of him. And finally, he's like, you know what? Let's do it. And you're my guy because you've been after me for the last 8 years.
Well, and Bondilyn, we've got this team that travels all over the country every day doing these social media trainings for agents. And one of the things that we hear over and over is, almost every agent admits, like, they struggle with consistency. They're not stupid. They know that they've got a sphere of influence on social media following them. They know they have to stay in front of them. They know they have to stay top of mind. Every single agent I've ever spoken to has a horror story where somebody, a friend or a family member, hired another agent, posted it on Facebook, and they're sitting there looking at it going, I can't believe they didn't call me. So every agent knows this. What they do is they struggle with, what do I do about it? How do I solve that problem? And so these are some of the things that we've taken into consideration. Is an agent needs to understand that while you're out doing whatever it is you're doing while you're sleeping at night, you need to have these systems working on your behalf in the background, keeping your pipeline, full, keeping you top of mind. And those are some of the things that we kind of take philosophically, because that was a comment I was going to make before, and I got sidetracked. But when you were talking about, what's important to a brokerage, I think brokerages need to understand at this day and age, the last thing a broker needs is another piece of software. The last thing an agent needs is another piece of software. What brokers and agents need are systems. They need business philosophies that they can follow through and buy into. And I think that's where, Justin has benefited from, is his company didn't invest in a piece of software. They invested in an actual system for the brokerage and the agents to be able to methodically sell more homes faster. And that's
absolutely
important.
I didn't touch on the part as the brokerage. One of the biggest things that we fall into as brokers, and my role as a managing broker is recruiting and building our agent count, not just, holding our agents accountable and building their sales, but, attracting agents who maybe don't have the tools that this system offers, that, maybe an experienced agent doesn't have the lead follow-up. And that's one of the biggest things that I get into in every conversation I have with an agent who's interviewing a new brokerage is, what are you doing now to talk to your past customers? What type of CRM do you have? And I would honestly say 95% of the agents don't have anything. Oh, it's my phone. And I'm like, then you need to come here because I have the system for you. Let me tell you. And my eyes light up and they can tell I'm excited. Whereas, somebody coming into it with, no sphere or a limited sphere, they benefit from it, but not like somebody who has a huge database of people who it's never been mined. And as the broker, the other part about this is, we're talking about all this stuff that it does for the agents and the systems and the drips and cold leads, but let's get with it. Every agent, has a bad day. They have that day where they had a bad transaction. They had their broker didn't answer their phone call quick enough or didn't answer their question quick enough. So the beauty of this system actually has the recruitment module part of it, where it's doing the same thing to agents that I've determined that maybe, hey, they're not having the year that they have or the last 2 years they have, or maybe we're missing market share in a certain area. I can set up this system to determine agents who fit our mold in a specific area, and then they're going to get either a weekly or monthly newsletter from me. And hey, when they're having that bad day, at least you know what, my name's at the top of their list because they're getting something from me regularly. And it's a great piece that has been incredible as far as our increase of agent count.
So to loop that back around to the analytics and insights then, so Justin, it sounds like not just from a recruiting standpoint, but also just in terms of your ability to support your agents, having all of these metrics, these analytics all in one place for you really allows you to be proactive instead of reactive, right? You can be one step ahead. You can be anticipating what's going on, within an individual agent, or a team's life, or, your recruitment's life. And so I think that's so powerful, and that really gives you such a huge advantage, right? That ability to be ahead of everything instead of being reactionary and trying to, figure it out on the backside of the situation.
Well, 100%. You could click on any email that I've sent to, a mass group of people that I've put into a certain list, and you can see who's opened it. And here, boom, well, look, someone's looking at the things I'm sending them. So, hey, I wonder if they're interested in it, and it inspires a call. Or, again, there's a quick contact me button where I'll get an immediate text on my cell phone that so-and-so looked at your email and requested a meeting. So there's some great built-in pieces that really, it's not necessarily a set it and forget it, but it's definitely a set it and it will do your job, do the busy work for you. And the same way that an agent looks at a potential buyer and seller, a managing broker looks at like, oh, this agent is interested in the services that we have to offer. Let's schedule a meeting. Let's have coffee. Let's get together and see if it's a match of the services and the minds.
Awesome. So go ahead, Frank.
Well, I was going to add to, on the recruiting side, this is something that we did. I looked at a lot of technology, and recruiting was tough for brokers. I mean, there were different programs out there where you could pull generic information about transactions or volume. But that's not how brokerages recruit. I'll give an example over here where I live on the west coast of Florida. If Justin was my condo king, on the luxury waterfront condos, and he decided that he didn't like me anymore and he left me, I've got a hole in my brokerage now. I've got to replace that condo king on the beach. Well, I'm not going and searching the entire MLS for any agent. I need to be able to go in and specifically search for, show me all of the agents that did a minimum of 12 listings per year in this zip code on the property type condo, minimum price point of $1.5 million. And it's going to pull up all of the agents that meet that criteria. Now, that's the first part. The biggest challenge most brokers have is, how do I develop a relationship with that person? How do I build rapport with them? Because it's not a one-call close. It's not a reach out and go recruit them. It's going to be something that's going to happen over time. But I don't have time to manage that, follow up with it. I need to be able to take that group of people that meet my criteria, put it into my brokerage level database, have email marketing, text marketing campaigns going out, building that relationship, keeping me in front of them so that I can start to replace or grow with the kind of agents that I want. So again, I go back to, I love the fact that the way we built the program was not just technology, there's also sales psychology built into it. And it's a unique marriage between what is practical on the street and what technology needs to help provide efficiency. So, and Justin, I'm glad you're getting the benefit of that now.
Oh, absolutely. And what's interesting is, that there's the internal campaign too for my current agents. So it's not just recruitment, but it's retention. And it allows me to send a message out to them once a month or hit on key points or certain specifics. So, I did set up, our internal agent outreach to talk to them about the things that are important to us, the time of season, things that we're getting into. Being in Florida, it's always hurricane season, but the fact that, hey, just a heads up, you may want to bind those insurance policies for your buyers that are under contract. Little reminders that they just think that, oh wow, my broker's looking out for me, thanks for reminding me about that. But ultimately, again, it's about the systems you put in place, and if you don't have a platform to mass email your own customer or your own agents, then you're sitting there all day long composing different emails to each and every agent, and that's just, again, that's busy work.
Yeah, very good.
Well, I know that that everyone that's listening knows firsthand that technology, the success of your technology really depends on the people that are behind that technology. And so that actually leads to our fourth challenge. And we know that so many brokers deal with frustration after they have onboarded into a piece of technology, they've invested in it, they start to onboard their agents. A lot of times that they really feel that they're left behind in terms of ongoing training, support, education, enhancement. And so, Frank, how has Elevate addressed this frustration?
This is probably, this should probably get moved up as being the number one and most important thing, because especially with a smaller brokerage, the technology is really only as good as the people that are behind it making it happen. And I use this example all the time. I have a brother-in-law who's looking for a second home in another market. I know a bunch of real estate agents up there, and he was asking me, who should I use? And the reality is, there's 15,000 licensed real estate agents up there that are all capable of legally conducting the transaction. But I recommended somebody to him because I knew that person, from a relationship standpoint, we're going to get more out of that. And so, when we put our training and our support together for the brokerage, it's like, look, we're not selling you a piece of technology. We're partnering with you. which means we've got to get engaged with you. We need to learn about your business. We need to understand what's important to you, because what's important to you is different than what's important to Justin. Our training team is going to come in and support that, not just teach you how to push the buttons in the platform, but I think it's important that if you're going to invest in technology or in systems, you need to be investing not just in the software or the technology, but you're investing in the people that make it happen. Those relationships matter. And, you know, whether I'm right or wrong, I don't know, but it's working really well for us. We've got really happy clients. And, you know, Justin, I'll let you speak to it because you've been on the receiving end of training and support. You know, you tell me what that's like. Just say something.
Well, absolutely. Well, from the time you and I first met and started talking about what our needs were as a brokerage in our market, and the fact that you traveled to the area and spent a day with myself and the company owner, kind of diving into our office and our multiple offices, branch location, and what are our challenges and what should we do and what's important to us. It almost did feel like you made a custom piece of software / systems for us that really helped develop our team and how we're able to work and perform. From day one, the onboarding process, with the Elevate team, having Sean and Chris at my fingertips, and pretty much, whenever I email and request a meeting, it's not, hey, we can get you next week. It's like, how about tomorrow, or how about Thursday? And it really is, everything that I laid out as far as things that were a potential issue or the system didn't quite work for what we were looking to use. It was very much, you understand that obviously it is what it is, but to be able to take things that we needed it to perform, such as the team component part,
right.
That was something new. And to be able to develop a system and a fix for it so quickly that, the agents were able to use and still utilize it in a way that it hadn't been used before. So, it's not just the product itself, but it's the ability to have, again, like you said, a partner that listens to what you need and listens to how it needs to function and is willing to look at the components of it and say, yeah, that makes sense for us. We can make that change and make it work for everybody. It's been awesome. And to be able to have that ability to be able to provide feedback and have people listen to the feedback and say, that makes sense for not just this market or this customer, but I think this would work for a lot of different people. It's been awesome to see it grow and change and evolve. And, the different pieces, it's constantly growing. And as technology needs to, if you stay stagnant, you're falling behind. And, right. There's so many pieces to this. And, we're still learning every week. We still talking about training. I found it important as a broker to we've invested money into this, right? We want to see a return on our investment. We want to see our agents prosper. And obviously the better they do, the better we all do. And so, the goal is to have them get the most out of this. So we developed a weekly mastermind session where, it's voluntary. The agents come in and hopefully they're too busy and they're out there and the system's working and, they can't make it. And we did go from having about 8 to 10 agents come per week to about 2 to 3. And the 2 to 3 that come per week, we're focusing on the basics of the system because the other ones are getting what they want out of it. Right. And, they're all very impressed and very happy with the way that the tools work and the functions work. So it's been a great win-win relationship for us.
Well, I was going to say that's something important that you did. I think a lot of brokerages don't take that train. They rely sometimes too much on the vendor to provide training, where you made it internal. And you said, hey, you know what? We're going to have the company support us, but we're also I'm going to do these masterminds. And that was awesome because I think, to your point, if you're doing that right, you should put yourself out of that business. Meaning at first 15 agents are showing up, now only 2 or 3. Why? Because the other 12 have mastered the system. They've mastered the processes. They're out showing homes.
Selling properties and writing contracts.
Yeah, you want to have a mastermind with 0 people showing up eventually because they're already masters. So, I think what you did was great. And, look, as a company, from our CEO on down, it's a customer first mentality. And we're not in business if we can't make you successful. And we shorten it to say, if you cannot point back to us and say, Elm Street Technology helped my agents sell more homes faster, then we haven't done our job. And that's what we exist to do. We got to help your agents sell more homes faster. We don't do that, we're not winning. So everything that we try to do is designed to support that initiative. And that, and that starts from the top, from the leadership down. And I think that's important. And I'm saying that not about us, but for every broker. No matter who your technology partners are, make sure you get to know, take the time to get to know the people that are behind the organization. Take a look at what kind of experience they have. Take a look at what that relationship is like, because that's going to be your partner. And when things get tough, and things will break, they always do, you need to know that your partner is there to step up and get engaged with you. And that's going to matter. That's going to matter a lot.
Well, gentlemen, I know we're starting to get tight on time, and I see there's quite a few questions coming in. So I just want to focus for one moment. Frank, we have a lot of brokers that are in today's attendance with us. And, Justin touched on this, you've touched on this, but, if we have brokers out there that are interested in learning, exploring Elevate, for themselves, for their brokerage, for their agents, obviously I have a slide pulled up here where they can go to the Boss.Try Elevate website and learn a little bit more and fill out an inquiry form. But if they raise their hands and say that they want to talk to you and to the team, what can they expect next as part of that experience?
Well, I mean, first of all, brokerages tend to be a little closer to the vest, and so confidentiality is really important. So, obviously we keep our conversations confidential. It's really more of a consultation. I mean, we just really want to understand what it is that number one, what do they want to accomplish? What are the challenges that they're experiencing right now? Is it agent adoption? Is it budget? Don't have the money? How are we going to monetize this? I think that's something too that a lot of brokerages are different in. What is their business model like? How do they make money off of their agents? Do they charge transaction fees? Are they a flat fee? Are they traditional split? All of those things matter when it comes down to how do you pay for and provide technology, to your agents. And so one of the first things we like to do is just get on a phone call with them and have a conversation to say, help us understand more about what you're doing and what you want to accomplish. And then we take this approach. And I'm not sure if it's the best approach, but it's the approach we take, which is, we're going to find out if we think that our solution has something that can help you. And if it doesn't, we know so many other technology vendors in the industry. We're happy to make recommendations. If we think there's something sitting out there that can benefit your brokerage, we're happy to tell you about it. We hope we can provide it. But if there's somebody out there that can do something for you, we're going to tell you. The people on our team have all been in the end. We've got 3 people on the brokerage team that really do a lot of this consultation. Combined more than 80 years of experience working with brokerages in the country, not rookies here. And we just, I don't know, maybe we're gluttons for punishment, but we just really like getting under the hood with the broker and find out, hey, Justin, what's keeping you up at night? And don't tell me it's your sore shoulder. I mean, business-wise, what's keeping you up at night? Because we want to find out how we can help you. And that's what we do, Bondilyn. I don't think that we provide a custom solution, but we do definitely provide a prescriptive solution because Justin's going to roll out and use the platform completely differently than another brokerage, maybe of the same size. So while there's commonality, there's also very prescriptive differences. It requires us to understand what you want to accomplish and then figure out if we can help you do that. So
yeah, I love the consultative approach. And so everybody that's out there, whether you're, curious about Elevate, whether you're frustrated with some of your technology, whether you're one of those brokers who's sitting there going, okay, I'm using 15 to 20 different tools, Frank and his broker team can actually come in. They'll do like a full analysis of all of the tools and technology that you're using and really help to figure out where you have problems, challenges, where you can consolidate and streamline. And I think that's just a really valuable conversation to have, whether you decide that you want to move forward and align with Elevate or not. Just to have that industry knowledge come in from an outside perspective is so valuable. So we have just a few minutes. We've got quite a few questions. By the way, just one last thing before we move into questions. Anybody that does go to Boss.Try Elevate and request a consultation with Frank and his team, we have a fantastic free download for you. It's the 27 most influential words to use when recruiting. This is something that Frank has developed and curated and compiled over the years. It's a wonderful takeaway piece. And so everybody will receive that, by the way. Okay, gentlemen, we have got an awful lot of questions that are coming in just a few minutes. So Justin, the first one is for you. The question is, how many vendors do you feel that you were able to eliminate by consolidating a lot of your resources into the Elevate platform?
Well, absolutely. I could say that, there's definitely about 5 vendors that right off the top of my head, I could say that we were able to combine into one system. So, obviously the ability to mass email, with a CRM, having a website, having a Google AdWords account, and trying to come up with our own way to start, rank at the top of the search engines and things like that. So having the system be able to provide all those in one platform, definitely there's 5 vendors that I could say we quickly eliminated.
Oh, that's fantastic. Frank, another question is, so once a broker says, okay, we want to implement Elevate, so you've gone through your consultations with them, how long does it generally take from the time that you go to agreement to the time that the broker and the agent start onboarding? What does that time cycle look like?
Obviously, depending on the
there we go.
I think, yeah, obviously depending on the size of the brokerage, but typically, somewhere between 3 and 4 weeks. We usually have everybody, built out, onboarded, trained, and they can start the process. But we work with, we have brokerages that are, 7 agents, and we have brokerages that have multiple hundreds of agents. And so a lot of times, we yield to the brokerage. Sometimes they want to roll it out in phases. Just depends. But I try to tell everybody, like, look, from the moment that we, sign an agreement till everybody's off and, running, you're probably looking at about a 30-day process.
Wow, that's incredibly fast. Because I know, some other brokers who've worked with in other companies, they're looking at 6 months. 6 months before, that they are effectively rolling the platform out for their agents. That's impressive.
Well, I think sometimes we wish we had 6 months, but but we try to do it in 30 days, so or less.
All right, we have a question. How do I get more information about the concierge service? So Justin, thank you for talking about that. So if you want to learn about our concierge, our lead generation and concierge service, you can go ahead and visit boss.tryelevate.com. There's a contact form that you can fill out there. That contact form will actually send both Frank and myself an email. So go ahead and connect with us, and we'll actually connect you with one of our lead generation specialists that can talk to you one-on-one about that entire program. It's a fantastic program. Okay, let's see. So actually we had a funny question, Frank. Somebody was wondering if you used to be connected with Connecting Neighbors. So he said, hey, I thought that goes way back. That goes way back.
I was actually yes, I was. I was influential there for quite some time, and that was a fun little company that we built up and sold. And so it's been a long time teaching agents how to grow their sphere of influence. Yes.
Well, that is awesome. Well, we only have about 2 minutes left, and so I would love to take the last few minutes, and Frank and Justin, just have you share a closing thought or a key takeaway that you would like our audience to leave with today. So Justin, we'll start with you.
Well, I would just say, there's, again, technology is what's leveled the playing field, and to have a system that is really all in one, what the bigger brokerages are offering, the franchises are offering, offering tools and systems that agents actually use that are gonna help them increase their return on investment of their own systems, and being able to take somebody who maybe wasn't having the success in their career that they wanted and put them into a system that they thrive because they're able to reach people who they haven't connected with in years just because they didn't have the time. They're too busy with the current customer not being able to follow up and, again, fill in those peaks and valleys, because, again, that's what it comes down to. I mean, we all have great months. We all have horrible months. But being able to level that out and have a system that kind of helps nurture people until they're ready and fill in those valleys is critical, and we're very grateful for it.
It's wonderful. And Justin, thank you so much for believing in the Elevate solution, the technology, and the wonderful team over at Elevate. We appreciate you so much. Thank you. Frank, how about you?
I would say that when you go through these types of webinars and you try to provide value, and you're obviously talking about something that you've been a part of creating and you're very excited about it and you're very proud of it, I would say, Justin's been extraordinarily kind and has said some really nice things. But the reality is there is no perfect solution from a technology perspective, and no matter what systems and products you get involved with, you're gonna run into some challenges along the way. And I know that Justin has been an awesome customer as well, because whenever there's a hiccup or something's going on, Justin's been great to work with. I think that the relationship is an awesome one, and I think that probably comes through here. And I think that's the way we look at all of our customers. So my message, I guess my parting words are, there's 70,000 brokerages that have less than 50 agents across the country, and they're struggling with how to compete with the big guys. And we feel like we've given them something that can not only help them compete, but can actually help them thrive. And we just want to work with them. We just want to get down on the ground with them and say, hey, flip the hood open, let's look at it, and let's go get after them. So if anybody's interested in how we can help them do that, let us know.
Well, awesome. Gentlemen, thank you both so much for taking time out of your day. And everybody who has attended, I hope that you had some wonderful takeaways. I hope that you'll come in and visit boss.tryelevate.com, initiate a conversation with Frank and the broker team, get your free download on your amazing recruiting tips, connect with us. We want to talk to you. We want to hear from you. So thank you so much. And thank you, RE Technology, to Marilyn, Victor, and the entire crew. Thank you for allowing us to have your platform today. We appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.